IP and amount of ignorant mess we're about to get into right now.
Sit your $5 ass down before I meet you.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
And Tiara.
Hey.
All right, that was definitely not our third take to get this started. Okay, we're back. This is episode 208, His House. So this film is available on Netflix. This is a review of His House. Again, you can watch it on Netflix streaming right now. This is about two South Sudan refugees who get brought. They leave South Sudan and they are relocated in London. And then things go a little weird in the house that they're in, some spooky stuff. So this is the second film in our Halloween series of Black films. We got one more after this. But I will go to Micah first on his thoughts on this, because Tiara, you had seen this before, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Micah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't see this because I'm not a fan of ghost stuff. I like my horror, psychopaths and slashes and blood and guts and stuff like that.
Totally
I'm not a big I'm not a big ghost guy because you can't kill a ghost, right? At best you can bust it and they eventually come out anyway. But I sat here and I watched this during the day with all the lights on, and it's a nice little movie. It's a nice little movie with a nice little twist. The acting is stellar. The atmosphere works. I dig it, and it's only 90 minutes. This is the exact right length of a movie involving ghost shit, right? Like it's 90 minutes in and out, quick watch. Not a lot of plot. It's a simple plot. Everything that you need to see, you see on screen. So yeah, I dug it. I think it's a pretty good entry into the ghost horror genre.
Okay. Tiara, your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I watched it again earlier today. I think it's an interesting way to tie in horror, especially ghost concepts, with some clear social justice issues, like immigration and racism, as well as the theme of guilt and literally your past coming back to haunt you. I thought the acting was great. And I think the way that the movie was shot, again, like with Candyman last week, the filming of like just the dark skin of these dark skinned actors was just beautiful. Unlike with Candyman, which I thought was too short, I agree with Micah that this movie is just the right length. You get everything that you need. You get all of your questions answered and you're not left hanging. But there is like this sort of kind of peaceful but bittersweet resolution at the end that, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. But at the end of the day, I was like, they kind of deserve this ending. But yeah, I loved it.
Okay. So yeah, I also agree with Micah. I'm not a fan of ghost shit. I definitely prefer a psychopath, leading my horror movies.
Did you also watch this with all the lights on?
Yeah, I did. Like an adult. I was like, I went to watch it last night. I was like, I'm going to watch another episode of Squid Game. I'm going to watch this tomorrow in the daytime because I'm a coward. But yeah, I'm not a ghost movie fan, but I did like this one. And I think I liked it mostly because sort of the ghost aspect of it is a stand-in for, like you said, like grief, right? And just your past catching up with you, which I thought was interesting. Look, I'm a fan of using these sort of social issues, like exploring them via horror. I actually really like that. Obviously, Jordan Peele made that super popular in the modern day. He wasn't the first to create it, but certainly one of the earlier, one of the more popular ones nowadays to do it. And this feels similar to that. It's a little bit pulled away from, I think, what we would look at as a general social commentary. for horror just because it's an immigrant story, right? And and not even just immigrants, refugees specifically, right? So I think obviously not a lot of Americans have a direct connection to that, like in the modern day, right? A lot of people just don't, unfortunately, but, or fortunately, depending on your position. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was really quite good. I agree with you when you're talking about the lighting of dark-skinned black actors. I think that's incredibly important. And a lot of shows don't, and a lot of movies don't necessarily do that correctly, but this one absolutely did. Look, I'm a big fan of Wunmi Mosaku. Like, since she showed up in Lovecraft Country, I didn't know her work before that. I've been impressed every time I've seen her. Like, I really think she's quite good. And then she was in Loki as well, which I liked her in that. But she was great in this. Sope Dirisu, who, if folks don't recognize him right away, if you've ever seen Gangs of London, he's sort of the lead on that show. He was also great in this. Like, they're both really quite good. I'd like to see him in more things. I think he probably does a lot of British stuff that I just haven't seen, but I definitely like to see him show up in other stuff. I really like that guy a lot. And then, like, randomly Matt Smith is in this, like fucking Doctor Who, like just in a tiny role. But that was the only other face I recognized. But yeah, I mean, it's a bottle film. I mean, looking at Wikipedia, there's like 7 people or 6 people listed in the cast, right? Like, that's really it. But yeah, I thought it was quite good. I really enjoyed it. I think if you want to see a horror movie, especially with African refugees as the sort of point of view, and you want to see something kind of different, this is a good choice. I think it's a really good choice. All right, so let's get right into it. The first time you meet, actually, I want to say something before we get started. Folks in the comments for our last preview episode, y'all niggas need to relax. Like, you're out of hand. Just in general. Just fucking out of hand. Especially people who do shows about paranormal activity with 700 subscribers. Calm your asses down. Don't come for me. Anyway, so the movie starts with, yeah, fuck those guys. How about that? Fuck them. So we start off in South Sudan, with these 2 main characters basically trying to find their way out, or actually the 2 main characters and their daughter. And Wunmi Mosaku plays a woman named Rayal, and Sope Dirisu plays a guy named Bol. And so they're trying to get out. They eventually make it out of whatever city they're in, and they make it onto this ship. And I guess they're crossing some sort of large body of water. And basically the ship capsizes and they end up losing their daughter. She dies in the process, which sadly is an all too common occurrence. And then we realize that Bol is just having a dream about this thing that happened, right? This did truly happen. And they are now in a refugee sort of camp, right? Waiting to be located or relocated by the British government, if they qualify, or be sent back to South Sudan. Again, I think this is a really interesting group of people to kind of focus a horror movie on, because it's not commonplace. They eventually find out that they are going to be settled in this house in London, just outside of London. And the sort of British government people could not be less interested in hearing any of their perspective than any classic white bureaucrat. There's a whole thing about them like, no, we're good people. And they're like, not really asking, are you good people? Like,
yeah, I'm not the one you got to convince.
Right.
But even like the restrictions that were placed on them, it's like treating them like they're children. Like, no,
they're treating them like they're in jail. No friends. No, you don't leave.
You can't
checking on you.
No jobs, no earning any type of income in any way except for the 74 pounds we're going to give you a week. Like, nothing.
Right.
Just like people on probation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And also putting the pressure on them that the expectations that they will assimilate into that community.
Right. And
with basically nothing.
Right. And I mean, this happens with people on like welfare too, right? And, to connect it to, things that maybe we know a little bit better in the United States. Like, the amount of restrictions on like earning money and things like that are heavy, right? Like if you do this, you know, depending on how you are set up in the system, like you can lose your government assistance. If you have certain people at your house that aren't supposed to be there, you know, like then you can lose your assistance, right? And that breaks up families. It causes people to choose to sell drugs because they can't get, you know, these other jobs because of their past situations or because of their restrictions and things like that. And it just keeps them it sort of keeps them in this spiraling system. And in this case, if they fuck up, they go back to their war-torn country, which is obviously far worse. So yeah, they're shoveled off to this house, and I'm not sure I have seen a place given to people that like speaks so little to how they're seen as human beings than this place, right? There's literally trash sitting out front. There's like a couch and a refrigerator just like thrown.
Box full of roaches.
Right. Like this place is a nightmare. That dude goes to open the front door and it falls off the hinges, right? Like he's like, yeah, we'll fix it. Like one, they don't fix it. He has to fix it.
I think he's like, no, you can fix that. Just, you know, get a couple of hinges and nails from the store, and then he's just like, no animals, no people, and he's trying to turn shit on, and he's like, oh, all right, well, we'll fix the light, but your ass need to fix the door. Yeah. No ball games, no balls. Like, goddamn, all right.
Yeah.
I can't watch the game.
like if you look at like the kitchen and stuff, like you notice that the sink has no cabinets, like everything is just bare bones. Like no human being should ever have to live in those conditions. And honestly, like I think we all know why they subjected these refugees to those conditions.
Exactly. But I mean, and again, your point that then they're told with all of this, oh, by the way, you're also supposed to assimilate into British culture with no problems. All right, cool. I guess. How, right? Like if I can't even have the bare minimum of things, right? Like cabinets, or, you know, under my sink, like, you know what I mean? It's like when you treat people less than human and then expect them to behave humanely, like that shit doesn't work, right? Like there's been studies on putting people, I mean, it's part of the reason why they've sort of torn down a lot of projects across the United States and done like, you know, low level housing, is because there were a bunch of studies that were like, hey, when you pile people on top of each other like that, and it's not in a luxury apartment but you're like cement walls and all that other shit. Yeah. People physically act out. Shocking news, right? Like you're treating them like fucking animals and then expecting them to act humanely. It doesn't work, right?
Yeah,
it's not because
they give them this place because they want them to fail.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
what I mean? They want to be able to send them back, and they want to be able to pat themselves on the back and say, well, we tried. But no refugee is good enough to be here.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
They didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever, and then they can just send them back.
Yeah,
basically.
I can't imagine like having the ability to help people and then purposely trying to rig the system against them. Like that's just, I mean, that is, I wish I could pretend to be shocked by Europe's treatment of refugees, but I'm not. Like their history would prove that. I mean, and it's not even just Europe, right? Like it happens all over the world. Like, oh, well, those people that's not our problem. Like, all right, well, cool, but don't get mad when you watch the news and shit is devolving. I don't know. We just have we should have like countries that have a ton of space and a ton of money. Like nobody live in Montana. We can afford to bring a lot of refugees there. There's no one living there. Like there's just
you drove cross country, Tiara.
Mm-hmm.
What? How many empty spaces did you just see?
A whole lot.
Just like, ain't nothing.
Just like
honestly,
nothing. Like not even growing food there. Like it's just
nothing there.
There was
dirt.
There was one part where I'm pretty sure I was like in the Revenant for like
the Revenant.
several hours. I mean, I drove through states where the biggest attraction was a mall. Some of these states should lose like representation. That's how little people are there.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's like nothing.
Yeah, when I drove across country, I stopped in Amarillo, Texas, and people were like, "Oh, this is a place to go." I was like, "There's nothing here." There was nothing. And then as I was leaving town, I was like, oh, there's one shopping plaza with like, there's the Target and the Chipotle. And like, that's where everything was. The rest of the town was completely gutted. There was nothing there. Yeah. That's all. And that's a lot of like space. Midwest and parts of the Southwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
but too bad racist people run those states. So yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. So at one point, Bull he's in the house and he's kind of looking around. And like, there's this room and like shit's kind of a little shady and, you know, it feels a little weird. And, he starts to hear like a weird noise and he starts going over to the wall and there's like a rustling sound. And look, I don't believe in ghosts. I think it's largely very silly, but whatever. I'm not reaching my hand into a wall where I hear a weird noise in the middle of the night.
Wait, didn't he actually pull down like the
wiring,
like the paint or something?
No,
or
not in that scene. In like
okay.
The next horror scene, he does that. But like, I'm not sticking my hand in there, yo. Like, what if
it's a rat?
Yeah, yo, like. Nah, and then like a bird flies out or a bat. I'm like, yo, that'd have been it for me. I'd be like, pack it up. Where's the first bus back to Sudan, yo? I'm out.
Yeah,
like,
yo, I'm freaked out by birds indoors, yo.
No, that's
like, it's not natural. Yo. It's not natural.
It's very unnatural.
Get out of here.
Nah, yeah, that bird was like, I was like, oh shit. I'd have sealed that wall up and bounced. Fuck that. No, I gotta go.
Oh wait, you know, I wanted to ask y'all this. Did y'all think that this was scary?
The movie overall?
Mm-hmm.
No,
not really. Like, okay. And it didn't. It's very tense. Like, it has a lot of. It doesn't have like a ton of jump scares, but it ratchets up tension.
Yeah,
and I don't like tension. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like tension, especially tension that comes from ghost shit. Like, I won't even play stealth video games because I feel like at this point it's too tense. I don't want to get caught. You know what I mean?
Especially with like little creepy kids as ghosts.
No, I don't like that.
Yo. Yeah, no.
What is the first horror movie you guys remember seeing? Like that affected you?
One of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Someone took me to a theater to see it, and I didn't know what we were seeing. They lied to me. They told me we were watching something, you know, age appropriate. I was real young, and they told me we were watching something age appropriate, and it was this fucking Freddy movie, and I was just like, "What the fuck, yo!" And I literally, and we were in the front row, and I literally just pretended to go to sleep for an hour and a half, but to this day, the New Line Cinema logo always like I always associate the New Line Cinema logo with funny. Like that.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
funny.
Like, ugh.
What about you, Tiara?
Someone in my family will probably say Vampire in Brooklyn because I was really young when that came out.
All right, I knew you were gonna say some shit like Saw 5. Like, all right,
okay, so a comedy,
right? It made me scared.
That movie came out in like 1995. I was like 4.
You gotta relax.
But the first horror movie that really fucked me up was It. I watched it with my mom when it came on Sci-Fi, and we watched both parts. And I honestly could not sleep alone for a long time. That and The Ring were like the 2 movies that fucked me up.
Okay. I've never seen The Ring because
You've never seen The Ring?
I don't like ghost shit. I don't. No. I boxed that little girl coming out that TV out. No, you got to get the fuck out of here.
Like no. the ring was so intense for me that I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I turned on all the lights. I made sure the TVs were on.
She's coming through the TV. You'll turn it off.
Kind of thing where it's like I would be home by myself, and I would just turn on all the lights all throughout the house, and my mom would come home pissed.
Yeah, because she a black
everything.
Yeah, she a black mom, and she got an electric bill.
Yeah,
not electric.
Look,
electric bill.
That there was a dead girl coming out of the television, and there's also a killer clown that likes to eat kids. I mean, what you want me? I had to protect myself.
What you want me to do? That's your fault. That's not my fault. Mine was Poltergeist. Nope, that shit broke.
Oh, that's why you're an atheist.
It didn't. Doesn't hurt. Nah, yo, that movie fucked me up as a kid. Where they're like, which I think like they're here or they're back or whatever. I was like, fuck that. Cause like you leave the TV on too long, you get the static and shit. Nope. Nah, yo. Absolutely not. I won't watch that movie now. Like I won't watch it now. And I think they made like 3 or 4 of them. Fuck those movies.
Can I ask y'all something? Y'all have 2 young children.
No.
Have your kids just randomly started staring at just random shit and you couldn't see it, or have they just been like staring at you, but you're like,
yeah, kids are fucking weird like that, man. Like they are. Like
I
don't like it.
My son will grab something, anything like this, right? And he'll do this. I don't know what the fuck is
Snap the fuck out of it.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. The doctors, they're just like, oh, it's just a thing that he does. His kids do stuff like that.
Kids are weird.
Do they have any imaginary friends? Are they like
no.
drawing figures? It's like, this is mommy, daddy, and my friend.
Nah, fuck that. I'd be like,
no
nah.
Imaginary friends.
That nigga don't pay rent here.
Elmo and Froggy.
Does Elmo talk back to him?
God, I hope not.
That's my imaginary friend. The fuck it is. Get out of here. No, but kids are weird like that. Like I don't know what it is, but they'll just like space the fuck out. And they're like, I see something. I'm like, no, the fuck you don't. Not in this house. Like, knock it off.
Son said today, he said, there's a spider. And my wife freaked the fuck out, yo.
Like, where'd you see it? I was just fucking with you. Because I know it bothers you, so that's how I'm gonna say that shit. Yeah. So fuck poltergeist. Absolutely not. So the next day, after he has a little run-in with the bird in the wall, fuck that. For some reason they're still living there. Strange to me. Real comes downstairs and she sees that there's what we assume is the doll of the little girl that they lost. Their daughter in this bag, and she pulls it out, which is kind of fucked up because the little doll is white, and I'm like, y'all from South Sudan, like they got no black dolls. That's fucked up. Like that's just a layer of fucked up. I think it's kind of sad. So then we see Bull is like trying to get it together, man. He's like, you do the best you can. Like first start taking out the trash. And then he takes out like 3 bags of trash and sits it on the curb to get picked up. And I'm like, and he looks and there's just a sea of other garbage on his front lawn. This would drive me crazy, yo. I could not handle it. I couldn't handle it. I'd be like, we got to get this out of here. I can't stand when my neighbors have kid toys in the front yard. Like take that shit around back. I can't stand it. That would drive me nuts.
Oh, you have a backyard,
Exactly.
Backyard.
Where I live.
Enough to have a backyard. If you're lucky enough to have a backyard, that's why you have a backyard.
Yep.
Keep that shit back there.
I look, not to stereotype people, but I live near a certain group of people who, for some reason, I don't know what it is, they love keeping all of their kids' fucking junk toys all over the front lawns. Drives me nuts.
What group of people are you talking about?
The people I live near.
The type of people who like matzo ball soup.
A more orthodox style of those people.
Okay.
Space Jews, I believe some people would call them. No, but it like for some reason it's just a joke from a stand-up. See, there's one joke that's funny. But no, it drives me crazy. I don't know why. Like, just put the shit in your backyard. Why is it in the front? It drives me nuts. Luckily, no one on my block, because I think I would just start to throw things over their fence. It's like, yo, you gotta clean your shit up. It looks insane. So Bull is he's trying to blend in. He sees a church. He walks by a Methodist church, and this guy comes out and he's like, "Hey, are you a refugee?" And he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Hey, come in. I got something for you." And the guy just gives him a bunch of stuff, right? And then he's sitting in the church, and he's got his box of all this food and toiletries and stuff that this church gave him, which was very cool. And they're all just sitting there watching the soccer game, and these people are all cheering, and he starts singing along to whatever soccer song. I don't know. Peter Crouch. I'm not British. Brad probably knows what the hell this is. but some sort of soccer hooligan thing. We cut back to him at home with Real, and he's explaining that he did this, and she's like, "This sounds like the worst song I've ever heard," which I felt was a fucking hilarious response. But it's like the idea of he's trying to assimilate and he's kind of getting out into the world. Meanwhile, she's stuck in the house, right? She hasn't left. And I think that's just the reason why they're showing that sort of dynamic, which is understandable. Another late night in the house, and Bull walks into that same room, and one of the panels falls off of the wall. No, yo.
Yeah, no, yo. You gotta
it.
block off that whole wing of the house at this point.
Yeah,
right?
they ain't got dynamite. Just throw it in that room and walk away. It's not worth it. There's a giant hole in the wall. Nigga, what? No. And he sticks his hand in it. No. There was a bird in it last time, my nigga. It was a bird. It was a bird in the house. No.
I started to say, like, I mean, which I want him to do, but I was like, well, he didn't have to necessarily stick his hand in there.
But he grabs like a power cable. Like look.
You don't know what kind of wild turkeys might be in there. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, shit. That would be crazy. Yeah, he just grabs what we assume is an electrical cable and just starts pulling it. I'm like, that doesn't feel up to code.
Also doesn't feel safe. Why
right.
Would
you fitting to die. And and after he starts pulling it, like the more he pulls it, the more it turns into a rope. And as I'm watching this, I realize that I guess it's sort of like signifying the rope on the boat. I thought it was like
seaweed.
Yeah, I thought it was intestines at first, and I was like, I don't care for any of this shit. And then you see a character come up behind him, and he's just like pulling, and it's like one of those like silly magic tricks where you just keep pulling and pulling and pulling the rope. And then eventually that doll is at the end, like white doll, and then some hands come out and grab the doll and pull it back. That'd be day zero for me. I'm out.
No.
I
mean, but like,
seal it up.
That's the thing, right? Like they have a choice. The choice is to either stay there, stick it out, or go back.
Nah, yo. Clearly this is a white man's town and I don't want to die in it. Fuck that. Like, no.
You going back?
Yeah, you going back?
You going back to war-torn South Sudan? Or you going to try to stick it out?
Nigga, a pair of hands just reached through the wall and grabbed a doll back. I'm gone. I gotta go somewhere else. That shit wasn't happening in South Sudan. I gotta go.
Back in South Sudan. So
look, I can understand what a gun is. I understand there are people living in the walls, nigga. Fuck that. No.
This is such an American conversation.
Yes, you goddamn right it is. I would rather go back. I would definitely not in real life. But I don't want to deal with a witch either. So, 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other.
I'm about to take my chances with that goddamn witch, yo. I can't imagine living in a war-torn country. Yo.
Like, no, I'm good.
Come on back. I don't really want to. So in his fit of freak out, Bull strips all of the wallpaper or whatever it was off the walls. Like he was just like, nah, fuck that. Like he just like, no, we're taking all this shit down. And then he leaves the next day, and he leaves Real there, and she sees he's torn all this shit down, and then she opens a door, and she has a vision of these kids stuck in the back of this truck, sort of refugees trying to escape. And there's a number of these kind of moments of them sort of reimagining or remembering moments as they were trying to escape their homeland. Meanwhile, we see Bull at a 5 below or like 5 pounds and below, and he's buying some tools. He's got a hammer in case shit gets crazy. And he's trying to of the house, like make good. Then we get a scene, and this I think really signifies one of 2 parts of this movie that I think are significant as far as the horror element is we see Real planning to go to the doctor's, and she's having trouble finding this place, and she's walking around in this like a maze basically, and she has like these sort of handwritten directions, but she kind of keeps running into this like same kid kicking a soccer ball, and it's just like the general fear of being in a foreign country and not knowing anything, right? Like if the movie never even had the scary elements, this is already scary enough, right? I can only imagine what that's like to be a refugee thrown into Britain. Like, have you ever been to Britain? Like, the Brits aren't like the best when it comes to racism, as it were. So
Really?
yeah, shocking news. I know, hard
Wow.
to believe.
A little taking it back there.
Yeah, I
I can only imagine what it's like possibly being a refugee with a noticeable African accent and being
an African
a
face,
larger Black woman
right?
wandering around by yourself, not knowing where to go and having to rely on other people to make sure they ain't going to fuck with you.
Even Black Brits treat you like shit.
Even Black Brits.
These three kids, I want to punch them right in the head. So she comes upon these three young Black, like school age kids. Yeah, they're like high school or whatever. And she's like, "Hey, can you tell me how to get to Church Street? Trying to get to the bank, or she's trying to get to the doctors." And these three assholes tell her three different things, and they're purposely trying to confuse her and making fun of her accent and like really kind of treating her like shit.
That's fucked up, yo. Because it's like, yeah. I mean, I know we shouldn't separate each other in tribes, but like we do, right? We do. Yeah. And if I need help, and there's a white person right there, and there's a Black person right there, I'm gonna go to the Black person.
That's right.
I just am.
Right.
Because I would hope that they would have, some sort of empathy or something.
Right.
Like the code that we all have with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. I just, and these kids, they just. It just pissed me off, man.
Yeah, I didn't like this scene at all.
I mean,
it's a well shot scene. They annoyed the shit out of me.
It was because they clearly call her auntie, right? Mockingly, right? Like mocking her as an older person, older than them at first. But then like she's asking them about Church Street, and they're like, "What church? Like Touch Street? Touch?" Basically making fun of her accent,
right? And
then saying things like English only, go back to Africa, and it's just like, we talked about this earlier, but it's like chances are if you're a Black person in England, I don't know this for sure, but you're probably maybe a couple generations removed from, Africa. Like your parents or your grandparents are probably from one of those countries.
Right.
I mean, your last name isn't fucking, Llewellyn.
Right.
Right. Those are Jamaicans, right? Like,
right.
No,
you got an African ass last name.
Like, nah, yo, I you're being incredibly modest here. No, you do know, like 1-2 generations out, max. Like, get out of here. Like, either your mama, your dad, or one of your grandparents. Like, knock it off. Right. Like, come on. So it's not likely that you're, I'm British through and through, gov. Like, nah, my nigga, you're not. Like Micah we were talking about this offline. Like, no, yo, your dad is Nigerian. Like, knock it off.
Right, yo. Come
with
on.
a heavy accent.
Little Idris Elba.
Right. So I just like, it was just a shame, but I guess they chose to choose. I guess the director chose those three because even in a foreign country, just because somebody is the same color as you, they're still foreign to you, right? So there is still just this disconnect. So you can't just be like, "Hey, I'm Black, you're Black. Like, let's just connect." That doesn't work for everybody. And some people are just like, "Yeah, I'm Black and I'm British, so fuck you," right? And look. Is that 100? Because I'm sure people would take that as like, all Black Brits are like that. Relax. Like, that's not what we're saying. And I'm sure that most people wouldn't be like that. But they're also kids. And kids are assholes by their very nature, because that's just what they do.
Teenage boys specifically. Like, teenage boys in particular are just cruel, assholes.
I mean, I thought I was.
And they stink.
I mean, that's true. We did. It's true.
They do, yeah. They do. Yeah. My son feet stink on a daily basis. And he barely got sweat glands. Get out of here.
He's gonna hear this like 10 years from now and be like,
He'd be all right. He'd be all right. Toughen him up. He'd be all right.
He'd
He'd be all right.
Now he got to explain.
My toddler son to toughen him up.
He got to explain it
I
to
got to do it while he's a toddler because in case he get bigger than me.
right, exactly. He got to explain to his other 15-year-old friends when they hear this. They be like, "Damn, yo, your feet stink." Like, yeah, that's true. All right. My dad ain't shit. Like, it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, I just thought that it's kind of a heartbreaking scene that they would do that to her. But I mean, I guess I'm not particularly all that shocked. She does make it to the doctors, thankfully, and she gets her blood taken, and they do a sort of a battery of tests. And then the doctor is like, "Hey, I like your necklace. You know, it's very ethnic." And so she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, you know, where's it from?" Or you know, that kind of thing. She's like, "Oh, it's my daughter's." And she's like, "Oh, your daughter, you should bring her in so we can check her out, make sure she's okay." And it's like zero response from Riel because obviously the daughter has died. Then Riel explains her scarring that she has. She has scarring on her one temple, and it's from whatever particular tribe she was in. She's from, and then she had scarring on her arm that she says she put there herself because that's the other tribe, and basically she would switch back and forth so that she wouldn't get killed. Basically, that was a way for her to survive. She survived by being nowhere, as she says it, which is again incredibly heartbreaking. So, and look, the stuff that's going on in Sudan has been going on sadly for a long time, and it's like. I'm not read up enough to just say like, why don't they just do X? I honestly don't know. It's just sad to watch people who are all the same people killing themselves, especially black people. Like it's just horrible. And, look, genocides of all types, are always horrendous. But sort of these like internal, genocides that happen in certain countries, these sort of ethnic genocides are just brutal, and they have happened over history and all over the world, and it's just fucking awful. Then Raul makes it back home. There's just a white girl pissing outside of her house because that's what they do. And the white girl's like, "Hey, I think someone's living here." I'm like, could you not? Could you not? Could you just not be everywhere, yo? Like, get some home training. Then we see Riel, she's home, and Bull comes home, and she's like made him some food, and she's like, "Look, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, this shit is not good for us. Like this shit is not working." He's like, "No, I'm assimilating. Like this is popping for me. I'm at the pub, chilling with my friends. I got this new sweater that I look like the white guy in the store." Like doing this and shit. Yeah, everything is good.
He's like changing his whole wardrobe and everything. I'm
trying to fit it.
Calm down.
I mean, okay, let's
get it, but I'm like, calm down.
Right. You seem to be moving a little fast, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but how do you feel about that, right? Let's say you're a refugee, and you're thrown into this new country, and you're supposed to blend in. Like, how does that work? Do you say, "Fuck that, I'm not doing that"? With the chance of possibly being sent back, or do you like, "I guess I'm gonna put on these wingtip shoes and like try to make it work"?
I mean,
I'm gonna try to learn how to communicate with people, but I don't necessarily. If I like the style that they wear, I'll pick it up, but I'm not gonna do it just to wear a costume. You know what I mean? Like, think about all those people who were displaced from Louisiana, right? I know a few of them who came up to Baltimore. They didn't start, wearing Ravens jerseys and shit, right? Like they didn't start eating crabs and shit. Like get the fuck out of here. Like we eat crawfish where we from. You know what I mean? Like they didn't. And I know it's not the same thing, but it's like the closest thing that I can.
I mean, there are cultural differences.
Relate to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's I don't know. It's different with a country, and I don't know. The first thing I would do would be to try to communicate. And since they already speak English, you're black. You're going to be othered anyway.
Right.
Right.
And I don't know. Maybe coming from a place that's predominantly black to a place that's not, maybe you do feel the need to try and. I don't know. Look, I don't fault people for trying to do it,
Right.
because it's scary. You know what I mean? Like some people will get up on their high horse and just be like, I ain't changing for nobody. Right. But you got to put yourself in this situation, right? This is something brand new. And most people just want to keep their head down.
Right.
Right. It's not like changing schools.
Right.
Right. Like,
right. Like
it's a lot.
Yeah, man. Like this is a whole different lifestyle. So I get it. I don't fault immigrants who try to do it. But I'm not the type of person that's just like, you gotta do it. You know what I mean? Like if you don't want
that
to,
feels like a very conservative perspective.
Yeah, man. Like we have a ton of Spanish speaking folks in my area. And I'm not on some like, you need to speak to me in English. Right? Like
you press one, nigga.
right. Like it's just I don't know. Just let them people live. Just don't bother me.
I agree.
I had one incident where a dude went to sleep in his van in front of my house, and I went up to him, and he pretended not to know English, and then I pulled out my phone and I dialed 911 and before I hit send. And he spoke English perfectly. So it's just like, oh, okay, all right, I'm leaving. So
that's a very Karen. That's a very Karen move, Micah.
Guess what? I don't want you in front of my goddamn house, nigga.
Well, math is the international language, so he was fine.
But the only reason I faulted that guy was because he parked his fucking car directly in front of my house and went to sleep. I don't fault him for not speaking English to me. I fault him for
a long day at work. Maybe he wanted to
park in the fucking parking lot down the street.
You can't, because then the car will come up to him.
Well, guess what? The cop will come up to you. A homeowner will come up to you.
Who's gonna call the cops? Look at Michael. Once he got into suburbia, look what happened to him. He used to be from the city. Now he's in suburbia.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that from you. I don't want to hear that from you. You told a story about how you rolled up on two white potheads down the street from you. Not even.
No, I don't think. No, in fairness to me, I don't think they were potheads. I'm pretty sure they were on something harder. I was like, get your druggy ass the fuck out of my neighborhood. How you a drug addict falling asleep with a box of chicken in your lap in a Prius? My nigga, it's 2 PM. I walked my kid over here. Move. But I didn't call the cops. I'm not some kind of narc, Micah.
No, I'm a narc. Don't trust me. Don't trust me with nothing. I'll be the first to tell you. Don't trust me with nothing. Don't tell me no secrets. If you don't want something to be found out, don't make it public. Don't make it public. And don't
like
tell
nigga
me,
pipe
don't tell me
down. Like don't just pipe down. I got a story to tell. No, you don't
need to be public.
No, yo, social media got y'all fucking wild in there. Nigga, are you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? The fuck? Like, god damn. No, I think the assimilation thing is it's a tough call, right? I think it's incredibly easy. I think it's incredibly easy to, like, from a perspective where you're not in that, where you're not a refugee, and be like, fuck that, bro, I ain't changing. But like, they're literally being told, if you don't assimilate, you're going to go back into this war-torn country.
Back.
Right?
Yeah, if you don't want to change, you'll go back.
Right.
Where you don't have to change.
Right.
And then, push comes to shove. Like, people always trip me out when they're just like, Nope. People's obstinance
Well, fuck
in
you up.
hypotheticals is just so funny to me, man.
Look, if I was a slave, I wouldn't be picking cotton, nigga. Yes, you would. And hit your ass with that whip one time and be. Fuck.
Everybody thinks they're fucking Killmonger and shit.
Nah.
Like, all right, yo.
No,
all right.
a lot of y'all the niggas in the background who don't have speaking parts. That's all you
Right.
want.
It take real balls to be a revolutionary.
Yeah,
And
that's why there aren't
you
that
get
many
mad-
of them.
You get mad when your coffee order is messed up.
Right.
I don't want to hear that shit.
Like, yeah, it's hard to be. It's easy to say you'll be a revolutionary. There are very few of them, and they all damn near all of them were killed. So, okay,
Yeah, most people ain't built like that, yo.
no,
Most people not.
and I will be the first to tell
Yeah.
you I am not built like that.
including Bull and Real, considering how they got to Britain in the first place.
They are not built for that life. We'll get there.
I was,
Also-
yo.
I was like,
Say that.
nigga,
This
come
Micah
on,
is the fool.
yo. I was just like, yo,
What I tell you, TR, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Not on here, right? Not on here. I'm a
Micah-
liar, but I'm not gonna lie to you on here.
I was
Don't tell me
about
nothing,
to
yo.
utter the words Micah never lies, but I was like, no,
that's
That's
not
not
true.
true at
Oh
all.
yeah, no. I'm a liar. I'm a liar.
I'd swim.
When I tell you, you better believe it. When I tell you, you better not tell me nothing. You better believe that. I ain't lying about that.
Don't tell him shit. Well, I know this nigga since I was 14. He's not lying. That part he's not lying about. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So Bull and Rial have this very serious conversation where she's like, "Look, you're not, how soon you forget about our daughter." And he was like, don't do that. Like, don't do that." And she's like, "Look, there's a witch. And that's what's tormenting you and tormenting me. There's a witch, and she coming for us because we let that girl die."
Is this also the part where he was like, we can start a family, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like, okay,
Nah,
It's a
bro.
weird word choice. It's a weird
Yeah,
word
like-
choice.
like yeah. I'm like, why say that? We can start a family if you already had. Oh, okay.
That's a little weird. It's a little weird. Another late night in the room again. Again, just put a door up, my nigga. Like, stop going in here. He sees his daughter, and she's wearing a mask, like a tribal mask, which is a bit disturbing. And she's like stabbing at the floor, and then she starts attacking him with a knife. No thanks. And she tries killing him, and so like she backs into a corner, and then he like turns the light on, and she's gone. Like, no, yo, I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
No,
and
she's
my
free.
man does exactly what I would do. He runs out of the house and gets to some natural light. Like, I gotta go. I don't want to be boxed in four corners. Like, nah, fuck that. So he runs outside, and as he's standing outside, he sees this his neighbor, this like really weird looking white woman, and she's just staring at him, smoking a cigarette, and he's just like, "Hey, I don't mean to seem weird. I'm cool. Don't worry about it." And again, I'm not going back in that house. Nah, fuck that.
where you gonna go?
Going back to South Sudan.
Okay.
I'm trying to find another apartment. Like, I got to get out of here. I know they told me not to move, but they don't understand these situations. There's a witch in my house. I gotta go.
So wouldn't the witch also be back in South Sudan with you?
I don't know that.
You don't know that yet.
I don't
you
know
don't
if witches have international flight capabilities. So,
I mean, but they clearly do, right? Because
I
that
don't know.
witch is.
I
clearly
don't
from
I don't
South Sudan.
know if witches can get on JetBlue. I have no idea. All I know is I'm
Ooh,
scared.
fancy JetBlue. Okay.
I mean, I really can't afford that. Like, who am I? Spirit Airlines. They got Spirit over there. They got Ryanair right in Europe.
Listen
I mean,
to him trying-
considering the
listen to him trying
movie,
to backpedal.
Spirit
Listen to him
Airlines
trying to backpedal. Listen to him trying to backpedal like he's the common man. I don't know what JetBlue is. I don't know what JetBlue is. You Spirit?
Is that what you?
Yeah,
Is that what you poor
Spirit and
people
they-
use?
Spirit? Right. If you just said Southwest, I'd have been like, all right, nah, yo.
Yeah.
You went too far. You went too far the other direction.
I told you I flew Spirit once. Once, never again. Low ass cushions.
You must have been desperate. You must have.
Nigga, they had a strike the night I tried to fly home. I was so mad. I was so pissed. Never again. I'd rather walk. Bull was like, look, fuck all this witch nonsense. I'm burning everything that we own. Everything we brought, we burning that shit. We only wearing Gap from now on. So he takes all of their stuff. He starts a little bonfire in the backyard, and he starts burning everything. And Rial comes out, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he grabs the necklace that she has on. That's their daughter's. And she's like, don't take everything from me. Like, just don't. And he was like, oh yeah, bet. And he just threw that shit in. And so she has no connection back to, no physical connections back to Sudan. And the next day we see Bull running up in what I assume is a Gap or something, buying some new chinos and the worst polo shirt I've ever seen. All of these clothes are terrible.
See that security guard just put his mug down and just start following his ass?
Yeah, that was very subtle. I like that.
I caught that shit. Yeah. I caught it. Yep. I caught it. And that's some shit that you don't catch if you're not like paying. If you haven't experienced that, you're probably not gonna catch it.
Does that ever happen to you?
I
personally?
do it all the time. Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I yelled at someone.
I can really spot it because I used to do I used to be one of those people who stands at the door at Target. I won't even call them security. I used to be one of those people that stands at the door at Target to check your receipt if the alarm goes off.
Did you actually look at the receipt?
Sometimes.
You just hit him with the marker. You got it.
Right. They didn't even give me a mark or a hole punch or nothing like in Costco. Like you good, right? and then I eventually got promoted to plain clothes and soft lines B. If you ever in Target, pro tip, if you're ever in Target and you hear soft lines B, that's their code for security. Somebody's coming after your ass. And I would do the same thing, right? Like we would see people in the back. And we would see people and we would just follow them around. So I know when I'm being followed, and it happens all the time.
Okay. Yeah. I was once, I think I was wearing like a hoodie. This is a number of years ago. And I was in some store, like a series of outlet stores. Right. And like this person just kept following me around. And I was just like, all right, yo, like I'm starting to get a little annoyed, and I just turned around. I was like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And they were just like, "Oh shit!" And they were like, "Nothing." I was like, "You're following me around the store," and they got super embarrassed. And I was like, "All right, cool." And then I didn't buy anything because fuck them. But like, yeah, like I had like a sweatshirt on with like I don't know some big ass logo like Ava Rex or some shit. So they thought I was a thug. Boy, were they wrong. Yeah, but I'm not going to steal anything out of your outlet store. Look, I didn't have any money. That's why I'm shopping at your outlet store. Hello. That's why I'm trying to get these Timberlands for $50. Knock it off.
Also, outlets are a ripoff. They're a scam.
Yeah, of course. They're all the like bullshit clothes they can't sell anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
And they're not good prices either. Get out of here. Just stupid outlets.
Jesus.
See, look at Micah.
No, fuck them.
No, see, now I will still shop at an outlet store because I am a thrifty shopper.
Okay. We need to move on because people are telling lies here.
Honestly, when it comes to clothes, like, I'm a Target person. Like, what's the new shirt Target got? Like, what new fire Target got? Like,
Target has nice clothes.
No,
right. Target.
Nigga, this shirt is from fucking Target.
You picked the uppitiest one.
You should have said Walmart. Walmart got some
I'm not right. The fuck? Yo, how dare you? Yo, how dare you? Kmart.
There's one down the street from me. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Could have said Kmart. Could have said Ross.
No, I'm not. Yo, I'm not.
He picked the uppity one. He picked the uppity one.
Target is uppity? Is it Target uppity?
Target? Yes, nigga. They call it Target.
I too have called it that. But I wouldn't say it's uppity. It's
Nah, yo.
It's-
Compared to the
it's
rest
so-
of them.
oh,
yes, it's
compared
upper
to
class.
sure, compared to
It's
Walmart. Sure.
solidly
It's upper middle class.
Yeah.
It's upper middle
No,
class.
Target is not upper middle class.
Target is upper
Yes,
middle
it
class,
is.
yo.
No, it's
Target
not.
is upper middle class. You know why I know that Target is upper middle class? Because I don't have a goddamn Walmart within 20 miles of me. That's how I know Target is upper middle class. I got 5 Targets near me. That's how I know Target is upper middle class, man.
I have
Get the fuck out of here.
Is there
I
a
have
Walmart near
I have
me?
4 Targets near me and maybe like 2 or 3 Walmarts, but the Walmarts are most likely in bad areas.
Yep.
All right, so the Walmart near me might be a little far.
All right.
Oh, really?
All
Mm-hmm.
right.
I think I think they destroyed the one that
You
used
know
to
where
be.
your closest Walmart is? On Liberty Road.
Nah, nigga, that one don't exist anymore.
You know how that Target is uppity because they took the one from Mondawmin away and never replaced it.
Oh, that's
There
true.
you go.
That's true.
There you go.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of Walmarts near me. But I would argue it's not upper middle class. It's very middle class, but it's not upper middle class.
Nah, yo.
Nah, yo.
Nah.
Turns out I'm shopping in places like more baller than I thought. But yeah, when it comes to clothes, like I don't know any brands. Like I don't spend money on like expensive tennis shoes and shit. I don't do any of that. Nah. I spend all my money on wine and other things that are ridiculous. So
Yeah, wine that you get from the store next to Target, which are upper middle class.
No. Excuse me. Wine I get from the store next to the Whole Foods near my house.
Oh, okay.
How dare you?
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
wow.
They have a lovely selection. They do. No, but that's where I spend my money. So again, Bull decides he's gonna have this conversation with Real, and she's like, you're not afraid of these ghosts, nigga? Like, yeah, you cool with this witch and shit in the house? Because you don't want to listen to me. And he's like, look, I'm not afraid of that. And she's like, okay, bet. All right. And she gets up and leaves, and he's sitting there and he's eating and like drinking, and the scene pans out, and like the wall has crumbled away, and he's just in the middle of the ocean on this like little platform eating. It's actually kind of it's a well done scene. It's actually pretty cool. And just showing like his sort of loneliness as he's being, as all of this stuff is happening. Then he falls into the water, and there's all these sort of ghosts with like decaying bodies and zombie like characters. We're trying to get him, and those people represent the people who have died on the refugees who died on the ships trying to make it to Britain, right? Or out of South Sudan.
All of this, he's seeing a bunch of visions of all of these people for 5 whole ass minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, yo, I need to go to the bathroom or something, man. Like I can't be looking at this ghost shit.
It's a well shot scene, though. By the way,
we know
it's
that
really
there's a twist at the end, but how much of this do you think is because of part of it's probably part of a survivor's guilt or remorse that they survived?
I think that's what the witch completely exemplifies. Like I think it's all survivor's remorse, and just guilt for what they did, which we'll find out in just a moment. But I mean, survivor's remorse is a real thing. Right? I mean, it drives people to kill themselves. It drives people into massive bouts of depression and things like that. And sometimes it's even if they survive and they didn't do anything wrong, right? Like you're trying to save somebody and you just fail at it. And, they die and you don't, right? Like I knew a guy, just a really sad story, sort of close to my family. He was married to this woman, and she died. They had 2 kids, and they had a fire. And he went and got the kids and got her, and he was like, look, like, I'm going to jump out the window. You throw me the kids, right? And then you get out. And he got out and she couldn't. And the kids and the wife died. And he had it's a horrible story. I mean, I remember going to that funeral. I mean, I had never seen kid caskets before, which is one of the most terrifying fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't wish that on anyone. And that guy was severely, severely fucked up for years, right? Because of survivor's remorse. And it's a real thing. And he didn't do anything wrong, right? Like, he was trying to think logically, like, I can't jump out the window with the kids, right? Like, you know, and like, I don't know. Like, it's just a horrible fucking situation. And that guy will never forget that, right? He's remarried now and has other kids, but he'll never forget that. And I just cannot imagine carrying that with you, which is kind of what this is, right?
Oh, yeah, he got remarried, had other kids. That's
like years later. I mean, this happened. Yeah. I mean, this probably happened 20 years ago. Actually, even longer than that, maybe like 25 years ago. And I mean, I think he's like remarried in the last like 5, right? Like, I mean, even
that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. But I mean, that dude went through therapy for fucking decades, right? Like, I mean, it's a really hard time. So, and I'm sure he still thinks about it. Like, that will never leave you. It just won't. So we see a scene, which is one of the, like, in scary movies. I actually appreciated this. Like, the ghost of the daughter shows up and he's like, oh shit, like, oh, this is freaky. And like, and the light turns on and the daughter is still there, right? Like, normally, like, ghost shit, you turn the light on, they're gone. She turns the light on, the ghost turns the light on. It's like, surprise, nigga, I'm still here. And then she turns the light off and then more ghosts show up. I'd be like, yo, all right, bet, you got it. Like, again, I don't need to be here. It's your house.
I think I would have just died, honestly. I feel like the stress would have like been too much in my heart and my brain. I probably would have just had an aneurysm right there.
Yeah, no, that feels about right to me. Yeah. Like, that doesn't feel uncalled for. She was just like, nah, I got the light. I'm like, nigga, come on. You controlling the electricity now?
That scene and like the scene earlier with like the footprints when you couldn't see her, but you saw her wet footprints.
Nope.
That shit was like freaking me out. I was like, no, I'm good.
You almost read the Wikipedia, didn't you?
What?
Oh, you act like you don't hear. You can't hear now. All right.
No. Mm-hmm. I did read the Wikipedia for this.
Yeah, I bet you did.
But I also watched it. Okay. So.
Did you read the Wikipedia before you watched it the first time?
Yes. No. During.
Probably.
No, I was watching it and then I got impatient, so I pulled up the Wikipedia while I was watching it.
Oh, the second time.
No, the first time.
Oh, so you did? All right. You're a coward. Yeah, you're a coward.
I told you, I don't like the tension and the suspense. It was getting to me. I needed to know what happened.
But that's the whole point.
Look, my heart can't take it.
Yeah, you're a wacky person.
And it doesn't. And also, like, I still felt the tension. It just wasn't like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen? I was just like, oh shit, this is a lot, but I know how it's going to end, so I can breathe a little bit easier.
So then all the ghosts and ghouls, they grab this dude up, and he eventually turns on the light again, and then they all disappear. So he wakes up and he is like, get out, and he starts taking his 5 pound and below hammer and starts putting holes all in the wall. Like a white boy in the Midwest who hates his.
She had a knife to his throat too. Like she hopped on his shoulder like a little monkey, like, and then just like was like this.
Yo, did you call her a monkey? Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
You cannot compare black people to monkeys. It's unacceptable.
I'm black. It's fine.
We can say the word monkey.
I'm banning that word. It's not cool.
But the way that she like hopped on his shoulder and then like had his like throat, and it made me wonder like, if this was a scene where if she had cut him, like if it was like a real life thing, or was he just like imagining it this entire time?
Yeah, I don't know. I was not a fan of being in that situation, so fuck that.
I don't think he was either.
Nah, he was freaking out, like, solidly.
That may be acting too, because I felt all his fear.
No, he's a pretty good actor, man. You should watch Gangs of London. He's quite good. So then we see a scene where he's so freaked out, he was like, I got to ask white people for help. That's how scared he was. So he goes to the immigration office, goes to see Matt Smith, and he's like, "Hey, Doctor Who, can we move to a different house?" And he's like, "Why?" It's like, there's vermin. He's like, "Yo, there's rats everywhere. Like, knock it off. We don't give you people good houses. Like, get out of here." No, of course not. And he's like, "Look, I just got to get out of this house. Like, this shit is crazy. It's not good. It's just a bad situation." So he gets back home, and later on, Matt Smith shows up, and he's like, "Yo, what did you do to the walls?" Like, and he's like, "Oh, these are rats. Rats did this." And then Rial comes downstairs, and she's like, "You tell him about the witch, huh? You tell him about that witch is trying to kill us? That's why you scared, knocking holes in the walls and shit." Like,
whatever happened to Stand By Your Man?
nah, she was like, "Fuck all that." She's like, "Fuck all that, nigga. It's a witch in here." I like how plainly she was. She was just like, "No, there's a beast in this house. There's a witch. Like, y'all need to stop playing. Like, I don't know what the fuck y'all problem is."
She was dead ass serious. Like, yeah, so there's a witch that's like haunting us and shit. And he took the hammer and went ham on the walls, and that's why the walls look like that.
Yeah. Like, they were like,
look, she a woman after my own heart. She a woman after my own heart. Nope, he did it.
Yeah. He was like, "Look, I told you a secret.
Don't be around me when you commit crime. Don't do it."
He was like, "I told you that shit in secret." She was like, "Don't tell me anything you don't want me to tell people. Stop. I'm gonna light your ass up in front of these white people." So Bull is like, "All right, bet. That's how it is. You ain't going nowhere. Ain't nobody going nowhere. I'm knocking all the door handles off, all the handles off the windows, and like, ain't nobody leaving nowhere. Like, get out of here." And then he just lights a candle and sits it in the room. He's like, "The Witcher can come for me. Like, fuck out of here." I'm like, all right. Seems like a bad idea. And so then the witch is talking to him, and eventually shows up and shows him basically the reason that he's being haunted, and it's his daughter in the water where she drowned, right? And there's a kind of this cool effect where he's like, "Oh, pictures don't hurt me." He puts his hands over his eyes, and then another pair of arms comes and moves his hands out of the way, like, "Nah, fuck that," and then puts it on the side.
This.
Yeah, and puts it on the side of his head and like focuses his eyes. And then
like a weird version of that Janet Jackson album cover, where instead of the hands covering the boobs, it's like, "Nope, nah, you gonna watch this shit."
Oh no. It's the greatest magazine cover of all time. So he's like catatonic at that point. So much so that when Rial finds him, he's literally sitting on the couch, like zoning out, and he has pissed himself. That's pretty goddamn scary.
The way she looked at him and like looked down at him, like, "Damn, nigga, like you pissed yourself, you weak ass nigga." That's how I look. That's how I got her reaction.
I mean, it kind of was like that. That's fucked up, man. This guy's dealing with a witch. Like, that ain't his fault.
I mean, she is too. Like, she sees it too. She's just not like freaked out by it.
Well, because she believed in it. He ain't really believed in it.
She know. She's just like, "My mama told me that witches exist, and that witch is saying that I should leave your ass."
Yeah, and should be afraid of you, which was also an interesting thing. So Rial eventually gets out of the house after she locks Bull in the bathroom, and she's like, "I gotta go. Get the fuck out of here." And she jumps out the window, and she starts running, and then she realizes she's back in South Sudan, with her friends, all these women in this classroom, and they're all happy to see her, and they all sit down with her, and she realizes that the main woman is actually the witch, right? And she's like, "I know who you are, I know what's going on." And then like time stops, kind of, and Bull is there, and he's like coming to rescue her. And I guess it's kind of like, this is a flashback to like what actually happened. And all of those women have been murdered, right? And so he's like, "All right, we got to get out of here." And they make it to a rooftop, and and there's literally a guy who's been set on fire. I mean, it's just like fucking horrible. And they eventually make it all the way to the city where this bus is taking people to go, and so they're like, you know, you have to have children to get on this bus, and he's like, no, like you have to, and he's like, come on, we need to get on here, and so he shows his daughter. He's like, she is a child, let us on, and so they eventually get on. But here's the rub: wasn't his daughter. Turns out that little girl was just a girl who was standing in the crowd, and they just took the opportunity to use her to get themselves on the bus to safety. And you see the little girl's mother running behind the bus as the bus is driving off.
Yo, when I saw this shit, man, because I was feeling bad for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, you're trying to do what you think is best for your family, and you're trying to make this shit work. And, he's got PTSD from crossing, the English Channel or whatever. And then when this was a gut punch, man. Like, it was a great twist.
It was.
But it was a gut punch, man. Like, I was just like, oh my God, you kidnapped this kid, like, and that's how bad it is. Right? Like,
right. That you're willing to do
trying
that.
to make this shit work. That's how bad it is.
But to add to that, it's like they kidnap this little girl, and you see like the mom running, and you can assume that the mom gets gunned down, but then the little girl ends up dying anyway.
Right. Like, you don't know what could have happened to that girl. You know what I mean? Maybe she would have been able to make it out, or, but yeah, like you said, she dies anyway. I just, goddamn,
right.
Yo.
And to add insult,
sad.
It is sad. And like, that's the thing is, for all of the haunted ghost shit and witch shit in the movie, this is the actual terrifying shit, right? It's the idea of being born into a situation like this, or living in a place that devolves like this. And they lose her in, they cut back to showing the boat scene where the boat capsizes, and they lose her. And the fucked up thing is, it wasn't like he didn't give a shit about the kid, right? It wasn't like, fuck her, who cares? He was trying to save his wife, and he couldn't make it back in time to get her because it's not his blood, right? It's not his wife. It's not that she's, like, she's less important to him, but it's not like she's not important, right? So, like, he even says, he has a great line. He goes, I should have tried harder, right? Like, to save her. He wasn't like, I didn't give a shit. Right. Because it wasn't like they were planning on coming to Britain and be like, I don't know that girl. Like, they were going to raise her as their kid. Like, that was obvious. What she would have benefited from, right? Like, even though the starting of that situation is fucking horrendous, right? Of taking this kid away from their parents. And he couldn't save both of them. And so he chose to save his wife.
Would y'all do that?
Would I do what? Steal a kid?
Steal a child? No,
in that situation?
In that situation?
I can't.
I don't know, man. I don't think so.
It's a little, I mean, it's a little life and death situation. Like, if they hadn't done that, then they would have died.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's hard. That's hard to say.
I can't answer that.
Yeah. Because I think if you're in the situation, I think it's different, right? But there is, like, when the Ethiopian Civil War was happening, right? In the late 70s, right? A person that both Mike and I know, one of my wife's friends, close friends, her and her brother came here, right? And they, like, their mom took them on a plane and was like, they could afford it, got on a plane and brought them to the United States and was like, stay with these people, right? This black family, just stay with them while this shit is going on, to keep you out of harm's way, because their siblings had been killed, right? It was a fucking horrible story. And they got adopted because that wasn't a thing in Ethiopia. So they didn't know that was possible. And so this woman lost her kids for a while, right? Not until they were adults did she reconnect with them. So it's like, it's hard to say, like, and that's kind of a bloodless version of that, but it's hard to say. Like, would you take this kid to remove them from a situation that could have possibly gotten them killed? I don't know.
Right.
Like,
And you know, it extends a little bit beyond just survivor's guilt, but also the guilt of separating a mother and child
right
in their last moments anyway, because at least, you know, that child, it seems like that little girl wouldn't have survived either way, but at least she could have done that without literally screaming for her mother, and having the mother just wail for her child.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not to undercut the entirety of the movie, because I think the movie's quite good. It would have been a very interesting movie if this entire story happened exactly like this, but he saved the little girl instead of his wife. Right? Like, what would their connection be after the fact? Right? Like, especially in African culture where, you know, and the same with, you know, American culture here too, like women are generally the caregivers and stuff like that. Even in that situation, then he would have to provide this life for this girl that he like otherwise would not have had to. Like, that would have been actually a super interesting perspective too, because you could have still had that same survivor's remorse and everything else. So, and
then there's the added layer of like, you separated me from my mother. You stole me.
Yeah.
From her. Because that child, I mean, because that little girl, she was old enough to, like, even if she had survived with both of them, she was old enough to know what they did.
Right. She's definitely cognizant, right? Like, she's like 10 or 12, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a hell of a twist. It doesn't make you, like, I know some people will take that like as a twist and be like, oh, fuck these characters, but that's not what it brought for me. I was like, it just gave them a deeper layer, right? It was like, wow, that's really fucked up. And it goes to show you, like, Rial really cared about this little girl because of look how deeply she was fighting to, like, quote unquote, save her from this witch, right? Like, which, like, is a pretty significant part of her story, right? So, and Bull to an extent too, right? He's trying to, she's like, oh, you didn't care about this kid, but that's not true. Like, he did, he just couldn't save her, you know? So the witch then has been telling Rial that she needs to kill Bull, and if she does so, she will save the little girl and bring the little girl back to life. So one night they're in the kitchen, and there's a knife there, and Rial walks over to it, and then she just kind of walks past it, and she's kind of staring off, and then you hear some noise in the background, and Bull grabbed the knife and he cut himself instead of having Rial do it. And he's like, now the witch will come for me and take my life and bring back this little girl. And yeah, the ghost shows up, the witch shows up, and it's disturbing, very. And I didn't know this was a thing that witches did, but they stick their hand inside your arm through the cut, which was a little gross for me. Not a huge fan of that effect. And as he's howling and screaming, Rial sees the hand of she sees the little girl is quote unquote coming back to life, and like, she holds her hand, like, okay, you know, like, this is, as your husband is dying, you get this little girl back. And Rial just realizes, like, no, this little girl is lost, and it's horrible, and it's not what we wanted, but we have to live with that. And so she lets the little girl's hand go, thus giving up on bringing her back. And then she straight goes over there and murders that witch. I believe murk is the proper word that Micah would use. And she saves her husband.
Yeah, I didn't know. You know, witches could just be killed with a shank to the neck.
Apparently,
it's good to know.
So,
yeah.
Sometimes you got to kill a witch
for future reference, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, she doesn't just stab her. She cuts the witch's throat. Like, God damn. All right. Like, I mean, like, old school. then next we see Doctor Who show up, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Bull has patched all the walls of the house, and everything is good." And they've kind of come to terms with having to let go of this this little girl, having to let go of the tragedy of losing her, right? Not letting go of her. And he's like, "Hey, is there still a witch in the house?" And they're like, Bull's like, "No, Rial killed the witch. Obviously, you idiot. Like, that's obviously what happened." Duh. And so then we get a scene where they're looking into another room and they see all of these refugees who have died, including their daughter. And it's kind of an interesting scene because then they Rial holds Bull's hand, much like the little girl held her hand, like we are in this together, right? And because they talk about like the ghosts always live with you. You don't lose them, but they live with you. And I just thought that was kind of powerful. It like you said earlier, Tiara, it's a bittersweet ending. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so his house. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was quite good.
Yep. So, I would love to see more horror done in this way.
Yeah. So
also, Black people doing like legit horror, right? Like not parody horror, not like this is a legit horror movie with very creepy characters and very tense situations, but it's also a Black story. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not just a horror movie with Black people in it.
Right.
That's what I appreciate about this, is that it is a decidedly Black story. It's an African story. Right. Like it's super Black.
It's the type of Black story we really don't get to see.
Yeah, man. And it's a good movie. I think this is the director's first feature film. Oh. So, yeah, kudos. Yeah. I dug this movie.
So let me ask you a question before we get out of here. Is it that minority experiences are terrifying in their own right, that we are getting these sort of social commentary horrors? Because when it comes to white horrors, it's generally like, oh, it's a slasher film, or they're just ghosts. They don't really have much in the way of like, they're not terrorizing you for these like seemingly deeper meanings. It's always kind of fairly generic. And I suspect it's because of where their position is in society versus where minorities' positions are.
White horror is generally, if it's a slasher film, that slasher is manifested from something that white people did, right? Jason kills people because Jason died from a drowning because the camp counselors were off not paying attention and having sex, right? Not doing their job, not being responsible, right? That's why Jason goes after teens who fuck, right? Freddy was, a
pedophile.
Freddy was a fucking child molester, and the white people decided to be vigilantes and kill his ass. And now he's coming back. So he comes back from something that white people did, right? Like that's what white horror is. Right. White people do something. The supernatural element is their comeuppance, and then they have to defeat it.
Right. It's more like an immediate horror thing, right? It's like, action response.
Right. Whereas minority horror, is generally put upon us. You know what I mean? Like it's already horrific being a minority in any country. And I won't even say especially this one, because it's a lot worse places to be.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But I think like you said, it's inherently terrifying. That stories just, I don't know why we haven't seen more of it. Maybe because we're not given chances to tell our own stories. And now that we are, We're seeing more of it, and it's good. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm glad it's here. It deserves its place.
Yeah. Yeah, I just find it interesting, this idea that you get this sort of action and immediate response for white horrors, and then black horrors or minority focused horrors tend to be this like larger conversation. They always seem to be these larger conversations on what it is to survive in society, right? Like the ghost represents some, or the slasher represents some larger meaning to things. It's an interesting way that black directors have been able to manipulate the genre to be far smarter and deeper than it ever really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just find that interesting. Like, again, give black people a chance, man. Give minorities a chance. And like, they'll show you something interesting, right? Because you have not seen that. Tiara, what were your thoughts?
Just that I think our horror has different layers to it, has deeper layers than white folks, is for all the reasons that Micah said. Even when it comes to like some of the ghost stuff, it's still some result of like some white person doing something. Whereas like for movies like this, of course you have like the supernatural element, but you also have the element of the horror of choosing between going across the English Channel and dying overseas, or dying in your own home country. And then you have the horrors of just the racism of the place where you're told to assimilate and the place where you're told to survive. So those are different layers right then and there,
right,
that kind of make our horrors a little bit more grounding. And that's even with the supernatural element.
Right. I mean, and ironically, more grounded horrors are always more terrifying to me. Right? Like, I don't find the Jason or Freddy movies particularly all that scary.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like, oh, they're not scary at all. But like, I never found them to be as scary as, say, like The Exorcist, right? Like, because it's grounded in religion, which is which is supposed to be a part of our like everyday lives. It feels way more terrifying to me. Like, even as a person who doesn't believe in any religion now, but when I did, I was like, oh, this is some super scary shit, because it's grounded in something, that we see as an everyday real thing. So,
right.
Yeah. And I think that's where horror, like, it's sort of has fallen off over a number of years, but it seems to be making its way back, right? Like, classic horror was scary because it felt like these things could really happen, right? Right. Like, and a lot of it's just like weirdly unexplained shit. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, if you've ever seen it, I had the unfortunate pleasure of seeing it as a chicken. But it's just a bunch of crazy people in the woods. Fuck that. That's horrifying for a black person who lives in the city. You out of your mind? Like, what the fuck? Hey, come on out to the country. I'd rather not. Like, so and it was just like, door opens, guys like, and it kills somebody. You're like, holy shit. But that feels grounded in some level of reality, right? Like backwoods kind of crazies. But I think horror is kind of moving its way back there. And I think it's largely being spearheaded by people of color, which is really, really kind of dope to watch.
Yep.
It makes me much more interested in the genre than I've ever been, for a long time. So,
and it doesn't make it like, we talked about earlier, what scary movie fucked us up. It's not the intention of these movies, like the one we just did, is not to quote unquote scare you. It's not to make you feel like you can't sleep with the light off. It's to get you to think about the terrors that real people are going through today.
Right.
Like right now, because they represent real people right now. Not like, a movie like The Conjuring, which, represents folks like 50 years ago or whatever, but like real issues that happen right now.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's happenstance at the end where they're showing all the refugees. If you notice, not all the refugees are African, right? Mm-hmm. Like they show refugees from a number of different races. And I think it's important to understand that, like, this story, while it is a very African story, while it's a very black story, it is oddly not unique to just black people in Africa.
Right.
It is the same fucking story of Syrian refugees, right? Like, they're in the middle of a massive civil war and have been for years, and those people are getting killed like crazy, right? They're being shipped all across Europe and being treated like garbage too. Like it's weirdly a unique refugee story. It's not necessarily a unique specific race story,
and also,
which is powerful.
And I also think it's a good way to tap into the cultural differences and how people view the supernatural.
Right.
Like, so it felt like for this one, with this was South Sudan, right? So Sudanese, like heavily culturally in that respect. And I think what will be nice is to see horror take on more of that, but just with different cultures and still keep it grounded in this type of reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, he ran off, but I assume he would be back in just a moment. Classic Micah.
Micah.
Let me give him 1 second.
We should just trash talk him while he's gone.
Oh, yeah, he's a piece of shit. He's the worst.
Micah had to leave because he was actually really afraid of this movie. So he's just making sure that there are no holes in his walls anywhere.
He's checking under his bed right now.
Right.
Like
he is
coward.
hoping that his son does not have on a tribal mask right now, ready to slash his throat.
Yeah, I believe it. I met that kid. He's scary. He's scary. Don't fuck with him.
Like at this point, yeah, Micah was the most afraid of this movie than all of us.
That part is probably true. If you exclude me. So, all right. I think that's it for us. This is episode 208 for His House. We will see you guys next time for another preview episode. I have a movie that I'd like to do. I have a movie that I think that we should definitely do. Oh, look, he's back. Good. He can be here for the outro as I try to waste time as he puts
I was going to try to do his voice
headphones on. What's that? Are you going to do his voice?
I was going to try to do his voice, but
you know what? I would love to hear that.
No,
go ahead and do Micah's voice.
No,
yeah, guys, it's me,
right.
Micah. I'll see you guys on the next review episode.
See you.
He got to hear that. You're still muted, by the way. All right, that's it for us, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
That was perfect. You're watching the Black on Black Cinema YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our full reviews of Black movies, past and present. And every other week, we do a preview episode where we talk about a random topic that affects the Black community.